Hey guys, my name's David. Welcome back to another episode here. Today we're going to take a look at Chrystia Freeland making one of the dumbest comments, just the dumbest statements, the biggest non-answer I've ever seen. I know it's a big statement. So first off, she's on a morning talk show talking about the housing affordability crisis. Before we get to the clip, I just want to show you this real quick, this little chart here I made. This is the 4 factors of housing prices: foreign home buyers, foreign students, immigration, and Canadians having children. To sum it all up, the amount of houses being built in Canada with Justin Trudeau's accelerator, which is only 250,000 extra houses, we're going to have a shortfall of 5 million minus 2.75, at least 3 million adding these 3.5 million houses. The housing crisis will get worse over time. Just remember that, because these liberals don't know what they're doing. Now check out this ridiculous answer Chrystia Freeland gives to this reporter's question.
What example, not an announcement, what example can you share that would illustrate that you understand the pain and the pinch that Canadians are feeling at the grocery store when they're doing budgets?
She's fidgeting
how
a lot.
does it look in the Freeland household when we're in a cost of living crisis?
Well, you know, Anne-Marie, I think the thing that, like in my regular life, brings the challenge home the most personally to me is that my church, which is around the corner from my house, just up the street from us here, the Church of the Messiah, has a food bank every Wednesday. And the lines have been getting longer. And that is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that we have food banks in Canada, and it's really heartbreaking to see that people really need them.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there for a second. First off, the look on her face, she's mortified that that's her answer. The housing crisis in Canada, your response is, oh, well, there's a food bank around the corner. You can go over there and get some free food. That's basically what she just said. Just disgraceful, despicable loser to have second in command in Canada.
Really, it kills me that that's something that they need to do, that we need to do.
It's ironic, the word she just said there.
Yeah, a national report was released recently that the numbers are up at record numbers. There's people who are employed who are using it to buy things like milk and eggs because it's just expensive. I want to give you a real life budget that was provided to our producers by one of their family members. She's a single mom. She has one child that lives with her, and we've got the numbers on a graphic, so it's easier for you and our viewers to follow along. But she makes about $26 an hour, which you know is above the lowest minimum wage in this country of $14 an hour. In Saskatchewan, in the highest, which is 16.77 in the territories in Yukon. So her weekly take home after taxes is $801, which works out to about $41,697.76.
So you can see they're not eligible for grocery rebate. They're pressing her on this, and she doesn't like that.
Taxes. So that's a lot higher than the amount that's eligible for your grocery rebate. Those are the people that you called the most vulnerable. But when we break down her expenses, this is where it really hits home. You've got $2,000 for rent, $125 a week in car payment, $145 for car insurance, and then just over $82 for debt repayment, $120 for phone and internet. It works out to around $3,095 a month. That's before gas and before groceries, and leaves just over $100.
So she's left with $112 to pay for food for her and her kid. You'll hear in a minute here, her kid is 18 years old. So really she can kind of maybe offload a little bit of that cost that the kid has, like a part-time job or something like that. The kid can help pay for maybe some groceries. But I mean, like, it's sad that it's at that state where the kid has to work while trying to go to university or whatever and to try to pay for food. But who's going to live on, like, I have multiple videos breaking down my super budget, frugal food budget, which is about $300 a month, which was my kind of like ramen student budget. It was $100 a month back when in 2002 when I was a student. That same diet, it's not actually ramen. I use a lot of rice noodles, canned beans, that kind of thing, but that cost $300 a month. So basically food, the bare minimum per person is $300 a month. And this is her weekly. So at that rate, it'd be $450 that she has remaining for gas and groceries. So even she's spending, say, $100, then she's only left with $300. Like, she'd be scraping by with just herself. And having a kid as well, there's no way they can split the $300 two ways. Like, it would be malnutrition. They wouldn't have enough calories.
for the entire month for her and her daughter. But she is not considered vulnerable in the eligibility of this grocery rebate. So how are people like her supposed to survive? And what do you say to Canadians who are in a similar situation? They weren't deemed eligible for this rebate, but they're living really close to the margin.
Do you know how old her child is?
I don't.
So that would be important to understand in kind of thinking about her budget. If she has a child in childcare, then I'm glad that we've been able to bring the price of childcare down. In 7 provinces and territories across Canada, childcare is now $10 a day. And in the whole country, it's down 50%. That is a huge savings.
Look at her. She's so proud of $10 a day. You know how many like single moms I know who that $10 a day means almost nothing to them? It doesn't barely do anything. When you increase the price of housing by 2.5 times, that $10 a day means nothing.
Here in Toronto, that's $8,500 per year per child. So that would be significant. And then the other thing is, again, depending on the age of that child.
I should mention she is 18, which is why we didn't include child care.
The child is 18?
Yeah.
Okay. So for
like,
younger children, and something that has made a huge difference for Canadian families is the Canada Child Benefit, which is indexed to inflation. And that has helped lift 500,000 children and their families
The kid's 18 also doesn't apply for that anymore either.
out of poverty. But the other thing I would say, I mean, I think what was striking about that budget was how much that family is paying for rent. And I think that in most families' budgets, the single hardest thing, the thing that sort of makes a difference in affordability of your own life is cost of housing, cost of rent, cost for your mortgage. And that's why this year, this fall, we have been relentless about focusing on housing.
We got Sherlock on the
Probably
case
the
here.
single biggest thing, which received royal assent in those buildings on Friday, was lifting the GST on purpose-built rental. That will get between 200 and 300,000 new apartments built, and that's going to bring down the rent for everybody.
That'll get 2 or 3, like I showed you the stats at the beginning there, 5 million, so it's a deficit of 3 million units. That 200,000 isn't even scraping the bottom of that, let alone that's in like 5 years. Once again, people, your solution right here from the Deputy Prime Minister is to go to the food bank. That's her advice. Go to the food bank. This is, I don't know. The civil wars in history were started for a reason. It's because of taxes. Just a heads up there, Freeland. Something to think about. Because when you push people right to the edge, where they got no other option, you know what happens? They revolt. Something to think about. Yeah, this is just disgraceful. Her response here is disgraceful, not to mention that you could see that the wheels turning in her head at the start. She's like, just like the Justin Trudeau, just trying to process some nonsense remark. What can I talk about? My dog went for a run in the park, and Canadians are doing better than ever.
For people who have a mortgage, and I don't know about you, Henry, but I hear from a lot of people who have mortgages, and they're really concerned about what happens when their mortgage comes up for renewal.
It's just the way she speaks there. For people who have mortgages, obviously she does not have a mortgage. Thank you for that piece of information.
Sure.
Interest rates are high. People are anxious about that. If you have a mortgage and you're worried about it, list the things that you have a right to ask your bank for when your mortgage comes up for renewal. A couple of examples.
Yeah.
You can ask for a longer amortization, and that can help keep your monthly payments down.
That also gives the bank a lot more money. You're paying the bank a lot more money. Like you would pay your bank, say, $500,000 on a mortgage, and then you amortize an extra 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 20 years. Then you end up paying them $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. It's like they get so much more money over that amortization. It's really terrible for the people. You'd be better off having much lower amortization, unless you're very good at investing in the stock market and you're able to stretch that out and make more money off of your investment. That's a whole other topic.
If you have an insured mortgage, you don't need to requalify to go and seek that more, to shop around and maybe get the mortgage from another bank.
Yeah.
So those are some concrete.
The problem, though, is if you have a fixed rate or variable rate that's locked in at a certain rate, after that rate comes up, even though you might be pre-qualified, you have to get a new mortgage at a new rate. So it doesn't matter because you're locked in rate at what, like it was before, 2.3% or whatever. And it was lower than that before. And say you had your mortgage at 2.3% and now you go to get a new mortgage and it's 5% or 6%, 7%. That mortgage payment that was $1,400 a month is now $3,400, $3,800, $4,000. It's just, our country is, the banks are getting rich and these idiots running our country are getting rich and we're all suffering. I don't know. I wouldn't feel too secure if I were them. They're in a situation where they've made millions of people angry. It's not a good position to be in.
For the first time, the federal government is cracking down on Airbnbs. Yeah. And I mention that because in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, I saw you just did a piece, I think it was about New Brunswick, in some cities in Atlantic Canada. You're seeing Airbnbs crowding people out of the rental market.
Yeah, well, the problem is you guys are bringing in too many people. Our immigration level is too high. Pierre Poilievre just did an interview on the Andrew Layton show on True North, and he asked him about immigration, and his answer was immigration will be directly tied to a math formula based on how many people are coming in, how many houses are being built. It's just a simple math formula, which is exactly, the crude math I was doing on my page there. That's what it has to be. You can't have the number go higher. Otherwise, you end up in this crisis. These liberals are idiots, though. They obviously don't care. They don't care about Canadians, or they're using this to make money off it, or whatever their diabolical scheme is. I don't understand. I don't know if they're enjoys people being suffering, people sleeping on streets, dying in the cold. I don't understand what their motive is. They should be removed by the RCMP for causing suffering to Canadians. That's just the black and white of it. There's nothing else to say to it. So, Chrystia, Freeland, if you want to take JT with you and just go over to Ukraine, you guys can live there and go ruin that country, run that country. You guys seem to care more about Ukraine than Canada. And for the rest of us, I hope you guys stay warm, stay fed. See you in the next one.